SCP-4927, The Skin of Tomorrow. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-4927 is to be contained in a hermetically sealed chamber at Site-93, maintained at 4 degrees Celsius and 45% humidity. The chamber walls are lined with non-reflective, porous panels, which are replaced every 72 hours. No recording devices with lenses or reflective surfaces are allowed inside. All interactions must be through remote manipulators. Any personnel who look into SCP-4927 for longer than 8 seconds must undergo a psychological evaluation and mandatory decontamination. Any audio recordings of SCP-4927 are to be stored under lock in the memetics vault. Under no circumstances are visual reproductions allowed beyond sketches without severe distortion. Description: SCP-4927 appears as a large tarpaulin-like sheet of skin, roughly 2.5 meters by 2 meters, of indeterminate organic material. The texture is smooth where untouched, but marked with ridges, fissures, and veins that pulse faintly under dim illumination. The color shifts slightly in reaction to ambient light and observer proximity, a sick, fleshy gray to dusk rose when near, to near-opaque jade when distant. When an individual views SCP-4927 directly, after about 3 seconds, they report the skin seems to breathe. The surface subtly swelling and contracting, as if something enclosed beneath is trying to inhale. Faint whispers may be heard, voices not quite separated, overlapping in tones of age, boyhood, and something older, something wrong. Beyond 6 seconds of exposure, physical changes occur. Small scales or patches of skin on the observer flicker. Eyelids turn translucent, veins darken, and sometimes the skin peels in slow ribbons. Underneath, the flesh is paled, but signs of something crawling beneath, tiny twitching ridges, are reported. Pain is sharp, immediate. The victim typically recoils, breaking contact. If not, the transformation proceeds. If exposure continues past 12 seconds, the observer begins to lose visual clarity of the room. Walls warp, lights bend, shadows stretch. Their reflection, in even the smallest glossy surface post-exit, will appear wrong. Eyes offset, fingers longer, as though the skin sheet's surface has imposed its own map over the observer's form. Memory lapses frequently follow. Names, dates, small readings of time disappear. People report not remembering why they came. To date, there have been 4 major incidents of full transformation, designated Incident 4927 Alpha. In these, subjects collapse, convulse, and within minutes their skin begins to slough, reorganize. Their flesh peels and reforms in patterns mirroring SCP-4927's ridged veins. When recovered, the subject is alive, but hollow, voice altered, sleep lost, perception fragmented. In 2 cases, subjects have claimed that the sheet called to them, taught them to see in the folds, and no longer recognize their own torso, claiming, "I wear tomorrow." Addendum 4927-1, Incident Log 9 Alpha. On date redacted, Dr. Lin conducted a scheduled test. Subject T-357 was instructed to observe SCP-4927 via a one-way viewing port, no reflections, for a maximum of 10 seconds. At time mark 5 seconds, the whispers started. At 8 seconds, the subject's skin on their forearms visibly rippled. Dr. Lin ordered lights dimmed to increase contrast. The subject cried out. At time mark 11 seconds, rippling became deeper. Scale-like plaques in forearms, fingers bending at odd angles. The subject attempted to pull away but collapsed. Paramedics entered with full hazmat kit. Afterward, T-357 was found unconscious with mottled skin. Voice recordings captured them murmuring, "My tomorrow wears me." Addendum 4927-2 Recovery Log. SCP-4927 was recovered from an abandoned orbital lab module drifting in low orbit around the moon of Redacted. The lab station belonged to a private biotech firm experimenting with epigenetic skin graft. All personnel had perished or vanished. The module's logs show that test subjects were exposed to a sample of adaptive dermis designed to integrate tissue grafts with multiple donor genomes. The last message recorded: "It learns from each of us, becomes more than skin." Addendum 4927-3 Interview with a full transformation subject, 4927 Alpha 1. Interviewer: Dr. Har. Subject: formerly Subject L12, now designated 4927 Alpha 1. Transcript excerpt: Dr. Har, can you tell me what you remember before the transformation? Alpha 1. I saw the wrinkles, the little ridges on the surface. It breathed over me. I thought it was skin, my own, maybe. Dr. Har. What did you feel when it began? Alpha 1. Heat. Worse, like stars under flesh. Like I was folding into something else. I tried to blink, but the edges of what I saw would stay, even when I closed my eyes. Dr. Har. And your memories? Alpha 1. They melt. Names forget themselves. I wake, and I can't remember the room. The ceiling looks wrong. And my hands, they don't feel like mine anymore. Dr. Har. Do you recognize yourself now? Alpha 1. I wear tomorrow. But tomorrow is someone else. Closing statement. SCP-4927 represents a fusion of corporeal horror and psychological erosion. It is not merely a danger because of what it changes in the flesh, but because of what it rewrites in the mind. Containment remains precarious. Exposure, even in small durations, carries profound risk. New safety protocols under review include rendering ports obscured, limiting viewing windows to no more than 4 seconds, and psychological counseling for any witness.